guys, welcome back to my channel. Yeah. So now that I have some caffeine in me, I can start. So in this video, I want to share with you guys 4 of my favorite urban sketch books. So Urban Sketch started back in 2007 by a journalist of the name of Gabriel Campanario, and I think it started back on Flickr.com. And Urban Sketch is pretty much this whole global community of artists who go out there and draw on location. So they go out there and they draw what they see. I think it's just a beautiful way of expressing your surrounding. You know, instead of taking a picture, you go out there and you draw how you see it. And every artist has their own technique of drawing, which makes it much more unique and more authentic. And the great thing about Urban Sketch is that when you go out there and you draw, you're surrounded by so many different people and different sounds, and you just absorb everything that you see and hear. You know, as opposed to when you take pictures, you're kind of like on autopilot and you just have those pictures on your phone or your camera and you don't really look through them. But when you draw and you take the time to really observe your surroundings, you really appreciate life and just everything that we usually take for granted, like nature, great architecture, people just going about their day. And in the past I've done an Urban Sketch, which I'll leave some links down below for you guys, and I just love the whole process. And just you learn so much about yourself, and you remember so many things from that day which you probably wouldn't remember when you take a photo. And I just think it's such a beautiful way of expressing your own community and just places you travel to. I will start with my first urban sketchbook, and this is the first one that I actually purchased. And it's called An Illustrated Journey, Inspiration from the Private Art Journals of Traveling Artists, Illustrators, and Designers. And this book is by Danny Gregory, and he's probably one of the main urban sketchers that really got me into this. So this book is so amazing. I learned so much about different artists and just urban sketch in general. So this book consists of different artists from around the world, and it's so awesome because it showcased all of their work, and it just kind of shows you, you know, about their lifestyle, like where they live, and their thoughts on travel and creativity, and just their whole process when they're out there drawing. They also talk about what kind of materials they bring along with them, what they prefer, and what kind of watercolor they love to use, and just like their own DIY palettes. And I think it's so awesome because I just love looking through other artists' sketchbooks and just seeing the world through their eyes in different types of techniques. And you know, there's some of them who just mainly use ink. A lot of them use watercolor. Some people use charcoal. Some of them use, what is this? Some of them use just graphite or colored pencils, but the majority of them use watercolor. It has 267 pages, so it's filled with so much inspiration. And I bought this book at Barnes & Noble, I believe. Yeah, I got this at Barnes & Noble. Ugh, it's just amazing. That's all I have to say. So the second urban sketchbook is also from Danny Gregory, and it's his book called Everyday Matters, a Memoir. So I'll just read it back. Danny Gregory and his wife, Patty, were in love. Their baby Jack was 10 months old. Life was pretty swell, and then Patty fell under a subway train and was paralyzed from the waist down. In a world where nothing seemed to have much meaning, Danny decided to teach himself to draw, and what he learned stunned him. Suddenly, things had color again and value. The result is Everyday Matters, his journal of discovery, recovery, and daily life in New York City. It is as funny, insightful, and surprising as life itself. So, yeah, he talks a lot about his wife and just about her accident, and he talked about how even though she went through this whole traumatic accident, she was able to move on. And for him, he was just kind of in awe because he was more of just a bystander, and he realized maybe he should just move on as well because, you know, life goes on. And so this is why he created this book, to kind of serve as, I would say, probably like something that's therapeutic for him, and just to really appreciate life as it is, and even just the little quirks and the little things that happen. He documents it into his daily journal, and it's just amazing because, you know, he taught himself how to draw, and his illustrations are just amazing. I love his line work, and it just looks so fluid. So he just really documents just little things in life that we kind of take for granted. And just like the title says, every day matters. He really inspired me to start my daily journal. And this book is just so heartfelt, and I just think it's really important to find a way to really cope with certain things, and just to find something that makes you happy and that can serve as some sort of therapy. I love, it's all very simple, but I just love the way he illustrates his life. And the third urban sketchbook is by Gabriel Campanario, who is a founder of Urban Sketch. And this is the Urban Sketching Handbook, People in Motion, Tips and Techniques for Drawing on Location. So I really, really wanted to get this one because I still struggle with drawing people till this day. You know, drawing my doodlinas, they just happen, but when it comes to drawing real life people and people in motion, it's really hard. I still feel that I'm kind of hesitant when I'm sketching people. I just want it to turn out really well. So this book, it really gives you great tips on how to practice and just some really helpful tips and techniques on drawing people. So first, they talk about proportion. I honestly don't follow the rules of proportion. I did learn it in school, but for some reason I just can't get myself into doing it. I just draw the way I see the object. So it has stuff like this. And just says like, practice drawing people you know. And it also shows you how to draw the head. And the next is contour. So contour drawing is probably one of my favorites because you don't necessarily have to use the rules of proportion. Contour drawing is much more ideal for urban sketching because, you know, it's really fast and more fluid and it just flows really well. And I feel that contour drawing is much more essential for urban sketching because, you know, when you're pressed for time, you don't really have to think about proportion. You just kind of draw the way you see it and you just let your hand do the talking. So yeah, it doesn't have to look exactly like the person, just kind of getting their whole overall shape is really important. So as you can see, like their hands are much more exaggerated than in real life, but you get the overall image of the person. So it's just like, you know, just really looking at the shape of the people and just kind of sketching it down really quick. And even though the sketches aren't super detailed, you get the gist of the overall image. So it's a perfect day for pho. So there's just people eating pho. I like this tip very much. This one says, freeze a moment. If it happens in a split of a second, how is it even possible to draw it? I like to take as much time as I can just watching until I can spot the move that I want to capture. The person going through this checkpoint stood there for only a few seconds, but more people came later and adopted the same position. So the result is actually a composite of many of the people who went through security. So just kind of really observing the people and their movements so you can kind of get that down and have it set in your head, so while you're drawing it's much more easier for you, like memorizing the pose. And it also just kind of gives like different techniques that other artists do. There's expression, context, like even just getting a really quick sketch of the background to really tie the whole sketch together. See how simple this is? He added just a few lines here just to kind of show that it's a window, and then you can see some lines here for like the cars. I don't want to go through the whole book, but it also talks about different mediums that you can use. This is a very handy book, like it says, handbook. And I love the actual book. It's kind of like, you know, a sketchbook, like a moleskin, because it has this whole elastic tie that holds the book together. And my last urban sketchbook is probably one of my favorites thus far, and it's by Wendy McNaughton, and it's Meanwhile in San Francisco, the City in Its Own Words. I shared this book on my SF haul, I believe. Yeah, so I bought this when I was in SF, and the reason why I love it is because I love San Francisco and I just love her illustrations. This book doesn't define SF as a whole, it's just the way that she sees it. Sample of SF skies. It has a whole map of Dolores Park, just like the different sections in the park. Like it says hipsters, families, spontaneous yoga classes, jocks, tourists taking photos. So many kids. It's just so funny. And it talks a lot about different communities in SF. Not every community, just some. Like, I think Hayes Valley is in here. She just interviews all the locals, and it's just interesting to learn about the different people in SF. So she interviews people on the bus, on the Muni. She also talks about Chinatown, and I think, oh, right here, also the farmer's market in its own words. And then here, the mission and hipsters. I just love her illustrations of people and just her portrayal of them. And the fun thing about this book is that the cover actually turns into a poster. So you can take this off. And then right here it says, How SF Sees the Universe. In the front, it just, okay, has a map. Cool, huh? So those are my 4 urban sketchbooks. I hope you guys enjoyed them. There are definitely more that I want to purchase. I've seen a lot online that I find really interesting. I think these books are really good coffee books because they're just really fun to flip through and you just gain so much inspiration from them. If you guys are interested in these books, I'll leave some links down below. So that is all. Create every day, stay motivated, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!